For integration to be sustainable, it must include everything a migrant needs to be at home in their new community. This means social orientation, language knowledge, education, welfare, and housing, among other things. However, a key route to integration is also work. Migrants should be able to get to work as soon as possible after arrival. What is the one-stop shop? In order to apply for social welfare, migrants have to meet some conditions. They must be actively looking for a job and they must have a basic level of Dutch. Navigating a new city and figuring out what services you need and where to find them is very tough for migrants, who have enough to deal with already. That's why we in Antwerp created the one-stop shop called Centraal Onthaalbureau Covelt, a single building where migrants with financial needs can find many of the services they need in one place, accelerating their path to integration and securing their professional prospects. Our one-stop shop got going in response to the increase in migrants arriving in the city in 2016. It's a place where 3 local public partners work together to offer a coordinated service and tailor-made support for integration and job seeking. The main idea is to use this space to let migrants get the basic information and services they need while empowering them to find a job in parallel. How did it come together? The One-Stop Shop is a cooperation between the City of Antwerp's Department of Social Services, which takes care of social guidance and welfare, and its work department, the Public Employment Service of Flanders, called the VDAB, which takes care of labour market policy, and Atlas, Antwerp's integration agency, which is directed by the region of Flanders and is responsible for integration and the referral of migrants to Dutch language courses. At the one-stop shop in Centraal Onthaalbureau, all 3 partners offer services to migrants under one roof. The partnership is continuing to improve its services by connecting with other stakeholders when needed. The target group is those newcomers who do not speak Dutch and who apply for social welfare. They arrive at the centre thanks to referrals by their asylum centre or other organisations, or they can drop in spontaneously if they just learn of the one-stop shop by word of mouth. What tracks are migrants offered? What we really want to do is to get services like language classes to migrants at the same time as helping them with job searches or vocational training, so that they can become active members of their new communities as quickly as possible. We call this the integrated trajectory. Unfortunately, it's not always possible, as a newcomer may be suffering from issues like medical problems or psychological trauma that just make it impossible for them to take on too much at once. In that case, they follow what we call the linear trajectory. They get things like social orientation and language classes first, and then later will move on to job seeking. How have you designed the process? There's only one way to find out what's right for a particular migrant, and that's speaking to them. We get to know the newcomer initially through a one-to-one interview with a city social worker who spends around an hour discussing family situation, social network, finances, medical background, housing situation, education, and language skills. The interview will either be in a common language or through a translator. This helps us build a basic profile of the individual and decide which trajectory is appropriate for them. After this first interview, they rapidly go on to a second interview with a special trajectory counsellor from Atlas. During this deeper discussion, we'll decide together things like what level and pace of Dutch classes they need. If the newcomer qualifies for the so-called integrated trajectory, we'll learn more about their career goals, education, and experience. It also includes a short cognitive skills test to assess how quickly they are likely to learn a new language. Then the newcomer signs an integration contract, committing themselves to follow social orientation courses and language lessons, and a person is appointed to be their single point of contact throughout the process. The idea is to make this trajectory as short and intense as possible so that migrants can arrive quickly at their goals. How do you make sure it's going well? We have a system that lets us carefully follow each person's progress and helps them deal with any issues that may come up. Information from the interview is shared on a data server that all the one-stop shop partners have access to. We meet every week for what we call an activation screening, where Antwerp's work department presents all the new cases and we discuss suitable opportunities for each newcomer to find a job quickly. At each meeting, we reevaluate the migrants' trajectory and are prepared to reroute them to the less demanding linear trajectory if new issues come up. We also decide which roles each of the one-stop shop partners can take in helping each person to integrate and find work. For example, if the newcomer has the capacity to follow training in order to find a job in the regular economic circuit, or if they can already work in the regular economic circuit, a suitable trajectory will be determined by the VDAB. If the migrant needs more support and guidance, they are offered social employment by the city's work department. With support from the European Social Fund, we were able to create special trajectories, for example for youths, and cooperate with a group of employers. Now this financial support is no longer available, we're still trying to decide how we will manage this process. The social worker assigned to each migrant communicates on the follow-up and helps with things like administration, social security, public transport, and enrollment in education. Once the migrant's trajectory has been decided and is up and running, the social worker of the one-stop shop will hand over the newcomer's file to a social centre near where they live so the process can continue without them having to travel too far from home. Antwerp's one-stop shop makes the challenge of integration easier for migrants to handle, while making cooperation between local departments and local bodies more efficient and cohesive. Yes, it takes a lot of effort and coordination to set up a one-stop shop, but all of the effort really pays out in the end.